Hello, welcome to another episode of Futurartist Records Presents. Today my guest is When Darkness Falls, a local heavy metal band from Longmont, Colorado. Welcome, guys.
Thanks.
I know we're missing a member today. We'll get to that in a second. But why don't you introduce yourselves for anybody who isn't familiar with you, and tell us what you play as well in the band.
Well, I'm Eli Polak. I play guitar and sing.
And I'm Ryan Hollis. I am the new drummer for the band.
Cool. And who are we missing today?
Mackenzie Ehrenberg,
All
our
right.
bass player.
Okay.
Unfortunately, could not make it today.
Okay.
So.
Well, we'll have to have you back, and we'll just do another one with him as well.
Sounds good.
We will adjust the questions accordingly, because I know, on our pre-interview we had talked, and Mackenzie had some input on some things from his perspective. But we'll make do with what we got. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
But we'll go with what we got. So, how did you guys form?
Well, it started with just me. I recorded a 3-track EP, which is this fella right here, actually.
Cool.
I had an idea of what I wanted to do and what I wanted the band to sound like. So that was kind of the template. I just wrote the songs, went to the studio, recorded them, and then I needed to find musicians to play with me.
Cool.
And so that's kind of how it all started, basically.
Has that worked out well as far as what you were envisioning and how it's turned out once you got the band members?
Oh, yeah. Actually,
Good.
we've kind of, we've just morphed into something else, But, that was the template. It's amazing how we're still that, but we're different, and it's better. It's better.
Right, because you bring in different personalities, you bring in styles of playing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's really cool, man.
Now, speaking of playing and recording and all that stuff, you need rehearsal space. You need a place where you can be creative. How does that work? Do you do it out of an apartment? Do you do it out of a garage? Do you rent a space? How does that work? And how does that affect the lineup of the band?
Well, we've practiced a lot of places. Before we had Ryan, of course, because Ryan's new.
Right.
But, yeah, we started off in just a trailer, like where I lived with my girlfriend at one time. And then we moved from house to house to house. And now we practice at Doghouse Music Studios in Lafayette.
Okay.
And so that's awesome. So it's just a big warehouse with separate rooms or studios, whatever you want to call them. And bands just rent out rooms. You can do it hourly or monthly or daily even.
Oh,
so,
really? Okay.
Yeah, the owner, Gary, has been really nice to us. So
That's cool. So do you still have to load your gear in and out each time? Or
No. All of our stuff is there at the studio right now. We get a little key card and a little key, so it makes us feel cool.
Yeah, for sure.
And safe.
And it keeps your gear safe. You're not having to pack it all the time, which sure cuts down on time, too. So you can actually rehearse when you get there instead of having to set up the whole time.
Yeah, I can't imagine having just a set hour time to do something, because you'd have to just boom, bam, bam, boom, boom.
Yeah,
so.
you get set up and then you'd have to start unpacking.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure. So now, when you were writing, obviously you had full control over it. How do you approach your songwriting now?
Well, I haven't been a part of it yet. I'm excited to definitely put my influence into it. It seems like, because we've been friends for a while, and I was in a previous band. We've shared a lot of bills together and stuff.
Cool.
I actually practiced a few rooms down from them before I joined the band at the Doghouse Music Studios.
Nice.
But it's cool to see how each new member, usually the drummer, brings a new influence to the music, though, right? And how the style has evolved, like Eli was talking about. And that's been cool to see from an outside perspective. And now being able to be on the inside, I'm excited to definitely put my mark on it. But I'm still just learning the songs, so I got some work.
We talked a little bit before the show here about the kit that you play and how it compares to other drummers that you've had. Does that really impact the direction that the songs go? Or does it just give it a different flavor?
It's the style of the drummer, really.
Okay.
The drum set, I think, doesn't really matter, because we've had a drummer that had a massive drum set, and he could do cool stuff. But our last drummer, he only had the 4-piece drum set, and he did more with that 4-piece than that guy did with that 10-piece. So it's all about the style.
Sure.
So.
Do you feel like you're going to bring a completely different perspective to the band, or do you feel like you're going to come into their world and at this point just fill that space to see what direction you end up going after that?
There's going to be a happy middle ground somewhere where I'm going to meld my style with theirs, and it's it's in the same vein anyways, so it's not going
Right.
to be a stretch, right? You know,
Right,
I
right.
like death metal, they like death metal. There's no real issue here.
Right.
But it's the subtleties that I think I'll be able to bring kind of my own flavor to it.
Right.
I like things that are it's more of like the black and death metal, Dimmu Borgir and stuff. So I'd like to be able to bring kind of that more blackened vibe to it. Like that'd be kind of fun to me.
Right. Sure. Cool. Now, going off just a little bit, because you're the newest member, and you talked about performing with them before. You talked about being down the hall from them in the rehearsal space. Is that how you guys met? Or
Oh, boy.
is that just how you became part of the band? How did that influence kind of the relationship that you guys have?
Wow.
It definitely kept us in the same scene, you know. Like we just
Yeah.
kept showing up at the same shows. We'd share the same bills, like I was talking about, or just
Right.
show up to watch a different band together. We'd always end up hanging out and partying together.
Right. Right.
Plenty
Oh,
of
yeah.
drunken nights. You kind of just build that camaraderie. Excuse me. So
Yeah.
That's kind
It
of
just kinda worked
basically how
out.
it happened too.
Okay.
One night we were just hanging out and busting light bulbs over each other's heads, and
That's
I
a
was
whole
like,
nother story. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was a crazy night. But I think it was just like he was talking about who he was jamming with. You were jamming with like some jazz band or something like that, right?
I was hanging out with a jam band dude.
Okay.
And that was like, you know, once Endlight had ended, that was where I was looking at going, just because I wanted to keep playing, but
Yeah.
it wasn't my style.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were talking, and I knew that they were not super happy with their drummer, at least, or maybe that they had already talked about moving on.
Yeah.
But either way, it kind of just came up, and I started learning their stuff pretty quick after that.
Yeah.
Now, did you start learning their stuff before they asked you to play with the band, knowing that they might be looking? Or were you familiar? I mean, you were familiar because you had heard them play. But
I was very familiar, and I mean, that's just, I like sitting down on my drum set, putting on headphones, and playing along to
Sure.
stuff. So I had
Yeah.
actually played along to your music before, which is cool.
yeah,
He didn't know that,
absolutely,
so
yeah.
reveal.
No, that's
I had
cool.
no
that's,
clue.
that's awesome. That's
But like, you know, I had never taken the effort to like stop and learn it,
right.
but I had always just jammed out to it. But it's been a good time.
Does that influence the way you play those tracks now?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was kind of formative, you know.
Yeah.
It just sort of sets it into my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you have a message that you try to convey with your music?
I mean, we don't really talk about politics. We don't talk about religion. We more or less talk about like our life experiences and stuff like
Okay.
that. If anything, if there is any type of message, it's just, you know, we're alive, so be alive.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that's the essential idea of it all. You know, like we're doing this to have a good time and be happy.
Yeah.
You know,
Do you
so-
feel that like that helps you connect with your audience?
Well, I think it's really cool because yes, to answer your question, yes.
Okay.
It leaves it open to the audience, right?
Sure.
Because it's about our experiences and things that we've gone through, and then that leaves it open for people to relate to that based
Right.
off their own experiences, you know? So everyone can identify in their own way to the music. It doesn't have to be the same way that we do.
Right. Sure.
And that's, I think, the really cool thing about it to me.
Yeah. Have you ever had anybody come up to you after a show and convey their relationship to that song to you?
Yes and no.
Or is that not really part of the metal scene?
No, that's not true. I think
Okay.
that's one thing that people don't really understand is how like actually emotional or whatever
Yeah.
like metalheads are. Like
Yeah.
that's like we're probably one of the most open-hearted people there are, you know. Honestly, you know, I mean, people think metal is just about aggression and this and that. It's
Right,
like,
right.
yeah, there is that aggressive side, but we're letting that emotion out, you know, and
Right.
along with letting one emotion out, everything comes out, you know.
Sure,
So
sure.
it's a really awesome thing, and
Yeah.
I've met a lot of real people being a part of the metal scene than any other thing, you know, to be honest. So it's real.
Yeah,
and it
no, I
feels-
think that
yeah.
I love hearing that because I think that every genre there's a perception by the general public that gets applied to that style, and that doesn't necessarily mean that that's true.
Yeah.
And so to hear a band talk about the other side of that can open up people's perception. Oh, yeah, I guess never thought about that. You know,
Yeah.
maybe it'll allow people to be more open when they approach music, which I think is important.
Yeah,
you know.
cool. Yeah.
So, now, how do you approach? And I'm sure that this is going to be a multi-leveled answer. How do you approach your sound? Now, you have approached it in a certain way when you did everything yourself. And then you've changed that approach probably at least a little as band members have changed.
Yeah.
do you have a specific approach you prefer, or does every person that comes in really change that approach?
Well, yes, everybody does bring in their own, thing.
Right.
But essentially, it's just because we're a three-piece, it's filling in all those gaps to be
Right.
full. And, so I'll, have a template of how a song is going to go. And then I'll be like, well, you guys do this and that, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And they really fill in the gaps, with their style, their uniqueness, and then it becomes what it's supposed to be,
Right,
a full,
right.
heavy song.
Right.
And like I said, I've said before, it's the coolest compliment we could ever get is that people come up to us after the show and they're like, oh, you guys sound like, a 4 or like a 5 or 6 piece band,
Right.
and then we're just like, oh, that's awesome.
Right. Well, listening to Mind Blow specifically, because that's going to be our closing credits song, which is pretty cool.
Thanks.
But listening to that one specifically, I thought it was really interesting that your sound is big. It's definitely metal, but I could hear the entire bass line. It wasn't drowned out by anything else. And the same with the guitars.
Yeah.
And so for a three-piece to have a sound that's that big, that full, no gaps, like you had said, and I can really pull each part out and know what each part is doing, that's cool.
Yeah, that was like a really important thing for me was, every person, like, they didn't just focus on just the guitar. They didn't just focus on this thing. They can if they want to.
Right.
But, everything has its part to the music.
Right.
That's why everybody in this band has to be on their game.
Right,
If
right.
somebody messes
For
up
sure.
here or there, you get that look in the corner.
Yeah,
you're
definitely
like,
stands out.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
hear it. So it's like when everybody's on it, man, we're just this fist that's coming at your face, dude.
That's
Like,
awesome.
it's like-
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, how do you get that sound when you're in the studio? Is there a certain approach you take to your EQ or your mastering, or is there to get that sound where you can have that separation but still that fullness? You really got to pay attention when you're recording, when you're mixing.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just trying to make it sound as it would, when we're playing live. So
Okay.
have it try to be as organic as possible without overproducing, because I feel like overproducing, you can become eventually this metal band that just sounds tinny on record,
Right.
So, that's a hard process. So it's like making sure you have right tone in guitars. The bass has this nice punch to it.
Right,
Because when the bass
right.
has that nice punch, that's what I really love about Mackenzie's tone.
Yeah.
It's like he works really hard on having this sound that it's like it's a bass, it's a bass, but it's very unique. It has this punch, man, and it's just real nice. And the drums are very important. I think Ryan is an amazing drummer. I'm so
Awesome.
stoked to
Good.
have him. I was just telling
Good.
him, I was like, dude, I think you're playing this better than our other drummer. It's very solid. And
That's
so
awesome.
I'm just excited for the future.
That's awesome. Well, having
I'm
said
trying
that,
to be a brown noser.
right? And take it as you get it, right? So from the start till now, that leads into this question, which is, how has the band changed? In which you kind of just answered by saying, man, you're a better drummer than the last drummer, which takes you to a different level.
Yeah.
Your recording is obviously going to be at a different level because it's a different kit size.
Yeah.
You think he's a better drummer. So from start to now, how has the band evolved as far as your sound and your quality? And I'm going to tie into another question, but let's answer that one first.
How's it evolved? Man, that's a tough question to answer.
I mean, you always want to move forward, right? Like every
right.
step you take, you want it to be a step forward.
Right.
So like it seems like you guys have kind of just always tried to take whatever that next rung of the ladder is, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that next better musician is, whatever the next better recording is.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. I mean, from the first CD, to this one, I was really excited because I was like, man, I just want it to be a better musician.
Right.
Ultimately, that's what it is. It's
Right.
like getting as good as I possibly can and pushing myself to the limit, but still being able to like not over push it, because I hate when guys go in the studio and they can't, they have to keep going over and over and over again
Right.
because they legitimately can't play what they're trying to play.
Right.
And it's just like, no, stay in your level, but play to the best of your ability.
Right, sure, sure, and that makes sense. Do you find that you try to record in a way that is comparable to your stage sound, or do you try to keep those sounds separate, where your performance doesn't necessarily sound like your CD?
Well, I really want us to always play the best we can live, so the recording is very important. If the closer we can play the recording, better.
Cool.
But don't always expect it to sound the way that it is on the CD,
Sure.
because we might do something that's completely off the wall on stage, and that just makes that show unique in its own. So
Right. So you want to be able to play like the CD,
Yeah.
but not necessarily be confined to that sound. You want to be able
Exactly.
to give the audience a different experience than just sitting down listening to the
Yeah,
CD.
because somebody will come to the show and they'll be like, "Well, they didn't do that on the CD, but that was really awesome,"
Right,
But
right.
we would hate for them to be like, "Oh, that wasn't on the CD, that was horrible."
Right, for sure. Well, yeah, and there have been bands that, man, their albums sound amazing, and you see them live and go, "Where's the band?
Yeah,
This isn't who I was listening to on the way up here."
yeah,
You know.
yeah. That has definitely happened to me before, where like we play with some band and I'm just like, "Was this the band I listened to? Like, this is no."
Right. Right.
So
it's important to be able to bridge that gap.
exactly, yeah.
So, if you couldn't play metal, I think I already know your answer to that. If you couldn't play metal, what would you play?
Go ahead. Ryan.
Well, man, if I couldn't play metal, something that just kind of gives you that experience, right? Just lets you know that you're there in the moment. It is real. You're feeling something, right? Whether it's inspiration, motivation, it's the vibes. Something like good time rock and roll, AC/DC or something, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you?
Oh man, I think I'd just be dead. No, it'd probably be some kind of rock and roll. I'm a huge Kiss fan.
Okay.
But like, kind of maybe some kind of blues influence. I don't know, rock and roll comes from that anyway.
Right, sure.
But, it'd be something flashy, like some kind of rock and roll, I guess, Kiss, or maybe something new age, like Seether or something like that. I really love just rock and roll, something heavy, but not metal.
So basically, it's metal with a twist.
Yeah, less game. Yeah, less game, no screaming. I'll just sing my little heart out.
So, when you started here, what was your end goal? Where do you plan on heading? I'm guessing that the bigger the better.
Yes.
But do you have an end goal where do you want to just be able to replace your job? Do you want to be on world tours? Every musician has a different perspective of, yeah, it'd be great to be, selling 300 million albums, but ultimately what I'd really like to do is not have to work 3 jobs. So
Yeah.
what is your top and bottom on that?
Wow. Essentially, it would be to just do this all the time. Be on the road, play music, meet kids and adults.
Right.
To just do this all full time. That even if it was just being gone for like 3 or 4 weeks and still going back to my little apartment, I'd be happy, man.
Okay.
But if all the other stuff, big house, pretty women, I'll take that too.
That'd be all right with
Yeah, yeah,
I'd turn it down for sure.
yeah, yeah, sure. Why not?
you? Right. And do you guys feel like that as a band?
Yeah,
Pretty much have the same end goal as a band?
I think our goal is just to make it, right?
Yeah.
We just
Yeah.
want to be a successful band that we can support ourselves and do what we love to do,
Yeah.
and be able to take the time to do it justice, right? Because
Right.
like having all these other obligations, like your brain's so many places because it has to be.
Right.
But being able to just be in a band, I think we'd be able to create something really cool.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Any side projects? Are any of you also in another group or working on solo material?
at the moment, no.
Okay.
But When Darkness Falls is definitely my main focus.
Cool. And, there's so many times you hear bands say, yeah, I'm playing in, 2 or 3 different gigs. I'm a studio musician as well as this band or whatever. And that affects, I think, not just the approach of the end goal for the band, but how you approach when you play, how you record and everything as a band, because you've got
Yeah.
those different influences. And so,
Yeah, Mackenzie actually, he played in another band for a little bit. They were called Body Stack. They're like a thrash type band,
Oh, okay.
So he played with them. They were buddies. We played with them a long time ago, and they're like, "Hey, we're moving to Denver. We should hang out and do some stuff." And I was like, "Oh, cool." And they move it up, and they're like, "Oh, we don't have a bass player. Can we use yours?" I was like, "I see what you're trying to do."
but that happens, right?
Yeah.
So you've got, especially in the musician community, everybody understands, man. You never know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
So
So yeah.
it's cool that you're open to that possibility and can still keep the focus of the band.
Of course,
That's
yeah.
important.
I
That's
mean, I
important.
still remember the text message. He's like, "Hey, I do want to play with this band." He's like, "But don't think I'm letting go when darkness falls."
Right.
And he's like, "Is that okay with you?" And I was like, "I'm not going to say no." I was like, "Who am I to, I love music. Who am I to tell
Right.
somebody no, you can't go play something
Right.
else?" Like that'd be completely selfish.
Well, and it opens up the possibility of your sound changing,
Yeah, completely.
and giving it a different influence or
Yeah.
flavor that maybe you didn't think about before,
Yeah.
which is
Well, Mackenzie's an amazing bass player, so he can play anything in. So
That's cool.
he's all like, "Yeah, I'm just playing fast. That's it."
right.
So
have you either of you ever been asked to play on someone else's recording?
not recording, but in bands, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever filled in for another musician? Not played with the band, but just stepped in. Hey, our guitar player is,
No, I haven't personally, no. I mean, there was a couple bands that asked me, they're like, "Hey, do you want to be our vocalist or this or that?" And I'm
Right.
just like, I'd say yeah, and then I'd try it out. But in the back of my head, I'm just like, I need to focus on When Darkness Falls.
Right,
Like,
sure.
that's where my heart is.
Right.
So I'm not going to take a piece of that, to give to somebody
Right.
else,
Yeah.
right now, personally.
To be fair, this guy does everything for When Darkness Falls. Like I even often try to pick up the slack, but he does all the booking, all of the talking to people, all the networking. He drives everywhere in his van. Like he is the band, right? Like
Right.
he writes all the music. Well,
And-
he brings the core to us,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like, I don't know if you'd have time for more than one band, dude.
Personally, yeah, you're right, man. But I love it, I don't like this, and I want them to love it as much as, I think one of
Right.
the coolest things was when we were talking to a buddy of mine, and he's like, "What do all your songs mean?" And blah, 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 and Mackenzie answered, the question, each song. He told him what the name of the song and what the song was about. And I was just like, wow. I was just like, that's so cool that he knows that, because
Right,
like,
right.
I was just like, hopefully I'm influencing him, but he definitely like sparked something in me. The fact that he knew that, like, that was just like,
Right.
whoa, like, so
Yeah,
ultimately
yeah.
it'd be cool when that's happening with fans, like,
Oh, yeah.
I think the coolest thing is
Yeah.
like when we play shows now, like, cause we're still like a little band, we're a little ant right now.
Right.
But like the coolest thing is when like there's someone in the crowd and they're singing the song, and I'm just like, It's
amazing, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I'm just
Yeah,
like, whoa,
yeah.
like that definitely warms up my heart, And it's like, I guess you're not supposed to say that in a metal band, but you know what? I
He has emotions.
Yeah,
Right,
I have
right.
a heart. I cry. Not
the
very
time.
often, though.
Oh.
All right.
Now, talking about him doing most of the work, have you? You're pretty new. What? Couple weeks?
Couple
month?
weeks.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
3 weeks.
And from what I understand, you pretty much know all your parts already, which is sweet.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool for
He's killing it, man.
yeah. That's awesome
He's
to
killing
hear.
it.
Do you feel like you would ever want to contribute to the songwriting?
I would love to. I would definitely love to put my stamp on it. I maintain writing my own little solo project material
Cool.
on the side at all times, just because I need that like outlet.
Sure.
But I'm definitely a creative person at heart, and I would love to be able to put my stamp on the songs.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Honestly, like I've already been thinking about that process, like, because like we're going through like him learning the songs so fast.
Yeah.
But it's not jumbly, Like he's
Right.
learning the songs and they're solid. Like we just had a practice the other day, and after that practice, I was like, dude, I feel it again. Like I felt like there was no in between.
Oh,
it was
that's
just
cool.
and it's just awesome. So I'm excited, to write new songs. Yes,
I'm gonna blush on camera over here, dude.
you're welcome.
From one album to the next, was it a different lineup? Now, this one's all you.
yeah.
So this is you with a band.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, Mackenzie played bass on this one. I did guitar and vocals, obviously, and our drummer at the time, he's the one that did the recording. We actually had another drummer before start doing recordings for us. And then when we got the other drummer, I was just like, well, we should just, use him.
Okay.
But quite honestly, I wish we would have stuck with the original drummer that started. There were just seemed to, and I'm not trying to talk down the CD. I think people should still listen to it.
Yeah.
But, there are a little bit looser ends,
Oh, sure.
on this one. And there was a lot of stuff happening in my life as well. So,
And being an entertainer of any kind, boy,
yeah.
that stuff influences everything, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of people, I had a rough day at work, and you're like, yeah, I understand. But as an entertainer, your job is also you.
Yeah.
And so it's not working for someone else, you're working for yourself. And so when you have a bad day, boy, it affects everything.
Everything,
yeah. Okay, so leading into the next question, you're working on a new album, I understand.
Yes. Oh yeah.
The approach completely different than the first two?
I would say yes. Definitely way different than the first one.
Right.
As far as this one goes, like I love these songs, but all these songs are going to be re-recorded and going to be on the new album, along with 6 newer songs.
Awesome.
So these songs really get to shine now.
Cool.
And that's what I'm really excited about, man.
Taking it to the next level.
Oh yeah. It was really funny because even at our last show, I was like, who's got this album? And that like a lot of people had it, and they're like, yeah. And I was like, well, throw it away. And I was like, because like now they really get to feel it, you know. And that was the exciting thing, because when I got to hear some of the rough tracks, I was like, this is how this song is supposed to sound.
Cool.
It's full, it's tight, it's just
Cool. Now, is the approach different with this setup than other setups you've had as far as the songwriting, the recording, all of that?
I mean, it's kind of been the same. I mean, the weird thing is Ryan's unfortunately is not on this album,
Right.
because we just swapped. You know, the drum tracks were already finished.
So you're going to be on the 6 new ones?
No, so their old drummer, I'm number 8, so number 7 finished the album, and that was one of the last things he did with the band.
Yeah, so he came in mid-recording. Yeah.
I get to reap
Interesting.
all the benefits without doing the work. It's great.
Nice.
He wins, man.
Yeah, got to figure it out.
So you're not going to redo any of those tracks? You're gonna let it
Unfortunately
sit?
not. We're going to go ahead
Sure.
and move along with it. I was happy with the tracks. I mean, if I had my choice, I would honestly go back and have Ryan record them, but he still needs to learn some of the songs on the tracks. So
well, and there's so many different approaches. I've known bands who've completely finished an album. It's ready to press.
yeah.
One of the members drops out, and they go back to the drawing board and start over.
Yeah.
And that doesn't, I mean, that's good or bad, depending on what you want in the end. But, you know, more just a curiosity, because every band's got their own approach. And
Honestly, I think he's coming in at the perfect time. You know, once the album is finished, you know, we got a solid drummer to promote this album with.
Right.
You know, there's
Sure.
nothing holding us back. We got a guy that wants to do this, wants to play shows, wants to go on the road.
Yeah.
That's happy. That makes me so happy.
Yeah.
So we need that.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
So
Yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
downtime. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a tour in the works?
We're mostly getting. My idea is like I want to book shows out of state. I want to do like these mini type tours,
Yeah.
because we all have jobs, unfortunately. But
For now.
yeah, for
gotta
now,
work
yeah,
around that, yeah.
yes. But my idea is, you know, we would play a show here in Denver or Colorado Springs on like a Friday, and then we would take off out of state, either New Mexico or wherever, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
anywhere out of state, and then we'll drive there on a Saturday morning, you know, after we do the Denver show or Colorado show,
Right.
and then Sunday we can either come back or play a show, you know, in town that Sunday back in
Oh,
town.
wow.
So, and then we do that every weekend.
Oh, wow.
So like that's kind of my idea, which I want to do. So we'll be going to Wyoming, you know, here soon, which will be
Cool.
fun. So
Yeah,
that'll be like
yeah.
our first out of state show in a while.
That's awesome.
So
They'll definitely give you a taste of how it's going to
Yeah.
play out
Yeah.
as far as travel and
Yeah,
all
we've
that stuff,
definitely-
especially this time of year.
Yeah, we've traveled farther. We've been to South Dakota, and
Okay.
like that was cool because we played like right next to this reservation with some friends of ours in a band
yeah.
called Uncommon Knowledge, who is a killer band, by the way.
Cool.
But yeah, we went up there, and man, they showed us like so much love. That was the first time we sold everything. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, we drove back with nothing but money. It was nice.
That is always nice, isn't it? That's awesome. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's a good goal to have.
Yeah, so
Wow.
it was awesome.
That's cool. Well, I think, you know, I definitely want to have Mackenzie on
Yes.
and get his input and see if you guys are telling the truth. But so why don't you let us know where we can find you guys and where we can buy merchandise, tour information, album release information, stuff like that. Do you have websites and
Facebook is definitely the best way to get hold of us,
Okay.
you know, because we personally take care of the page. Even if like just a fan wants to say hello, Facebook is, you just message us and
Okay.
we'll say hello back.
and that's just When Darkness Falls?
Yeah, and that's where all of our stuff is posted. You know, we got
Okay.
shows, where we're gonna be at, and so that's like a way to get in contact with us. And then Bandcamp is where you can purchase and listen to our music. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, you can pay for it. That's cool, or you
Sure.
can download it for free. Bandcamp, you can buy T-shirts, all this wonderful merchandise. You know,
Okay,
so
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's good having you guys on here, and good information. It's cool to hear the backstory of bands and hearing those little things and surprises.
Yeah, well, we
that's
appreciate
fun.
being here, man. This is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, thanks
Good.
for having us.
Yeah, you bet. And we'll definitely have you back. We'll have Mackenzie with
Mackenzie
you,
will
so.
be here next time.
Yeah.
We'll drag him.
Yeah, well,
Perfect, perfect. Well, don't drag him too hard because he is going to be on camera.
that's all right. It'll
live.
make the show better. You know?
Right?
Show's awesome already, though.
Good, good. Folks, stick around for the credits because we're going to be playing Mind Blow, one of the tracks off their first release here. And we'll have their contact information up so you can get that. And definitely going to have these guys back. So hopefully you guys check into them, come back, see them again. And for Captain's Lounge Productions, T.G. Lewis Productions, Futurartist Records, I'm Michael Hartsock. Thanks for watching Futurartist Records Presents.